Faded photos. I didn't notice my dad disappearing all at once. It happened gradually, the way people really leave, in stages you only recognise when it's too late. I was sorting through old photographs on the living room floor, the house quiet in that unnatural way it had been since the funeral. The box smelled faintly of dust and something sour, like damp paper. I picked up a photo from years ago, Dad and me in the garden, him crouched beside the barbecue, grinning like he'd won something. I frowned. His grin looked wrong. Not different exactly, just strained, as if the effort hurt. I told myself grief was affecting my memories. Everyone warned me it could happen. I put the photo down and reached for another. The next one showed us at the seaside. Dad stood a step farther away than I remembered, his arm no longer around my shoulders. The sand between us looked wider, freshly smoothed. I exhaled loudly, a sharp, panicked sound that surprised me. That night, I dreamed of photo frames nailed into the walls of the house, hundreds of them, all empty. When I woke, one of the pictures from the box was on my bedside table. I knew I hadn't put it there. By morning, Dad's face in that photo was blurred, not scratched, not faded, but deliberately obscured, as though something had decided he didn't need to be seen anymore. The changes never announced themselves. They waited until I almost remembered something. When I passed the shed in the garden and felt the ghost of an apology rise in my throat, another photo shifted. When I avoided the armchair in the corner of the living room, his chair, he vanished from an image I'd sworn showed two people. I stopped opening the box. That didn't help. Photographs began appearing anywhere. On the kitchen counter, on the stairs, slipped under my bedroom door, like quiet accusations. Each one showed a moment I'd avoided at the time. Dad standing in the hallway, coat still on, waiting for me to finish whatever I'd decided was more important. Dad sitting alone at the table, phone face down beside him, Dad calling out to someone who wasn't in frame. In every photo, I was just out of frame. The album appeared a week later. It was waiting on my bed, heavy and leather-bound, my name pressed into the cover so deeply it felt angry. I didn't remember owning it. I didn't remember wanting it. Inside were photographs I had no right to recognise because I hadn't been there. Dad in hospital, staring at the door. Dad at the kitchen sink late at night, shoulders slumped. Dad in the garden, alone and looking weak. The further I turned the pages, the darker the images became. The house grew emptier. Dad grew smaller, and always, the space beside him remained untouched. The last photograph stopped my breath. It showed my back as I walked out of the house, suitcase in hand. Dad stood in the doorway. His mouth was open, caught mid-word. The caption beneath it was written in my handwriting. You left before he died. You just waited for the body to catch up. I tried to shut the album. It wouldn't close. Something shifted behind me, the soft creak of the armchair. I forced myself to look again, really look, at the memories I'd trained myself to skim over. The unanswered calls, the visits cut short. The way I'd told myself later would be easier. The photos began to change faster now. Dad's face sharpened, not kinder, not forgiving, just clearer, his eyes fixed on the camera in a way they never had when he was alive. The album grew lighter as pages emptied. When I finally shut it, my hands were shaking. Then it was gone. So were the framed photographs on the walls. Every place a memory had once been was now bare, pale rectangles marking where something used to exist. Only one photograph remained. It hung above the armchair. Dad sat in it alone, hands folded, looking directly at me. His expression wasn't angry, it was patient, like someone who knew waiting had always worked before. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to our Tell Me a Story channels for more stories, special genres, and to suggest your own story ideas.